to Silicon Zombies, episode 126. Thank you, Peter. Round of applause for this guy. Super thrilled to have everybody here today. Packed house at the gorgeous Park James Hotel. Want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors, Nicodex, which does outsourced product development. So they're your team if you're looking for little assistance for technical talent. And Premier Negocios, as opposed to Nicodex, does excellent work for digital marketing. So if you're looking to grow your customer base and you want to get local customers, check out Premier Negocios. The information will be in the show notes below. Well, venture capital is certainly pretty fascinating. It is the fuel that drives the entire economy. And we've got two excellent, brilliant, delicious brains in the space of venture capital. We've got Nitin Pachisia from Unshackled Ventures and Dr. Qing Zhang. And of course, Human as well.
Thank you so much. Do you want to do the first question or you want me to do the first question?
Kick us off here.
All right. So both of these people are new to you. I think it would make sense. Nitin, we'll start with you. Who are you? What do you do? What's your firm? And what do you specifically like to invest in?
I specifically like to invest in what's going to make us all really rich. So whoever has that company, I'm ready. Thanks for having me over. Nitin Pachisia, born in India, came to the US after spending 3 years in planes and hotels with ABB. 2005, here with Deloitte, started a practice for startups at Deloitte. That was my entrepreneurship experience. And then joined a startup, which led to trying to start a company. And when I tried to go full time, I was told you can't. And so if people want to take a moment to think about the last time you were told you can't, what happened? That
You're proven wrong.
For me, it was a few seconds of helplessness, and then I'll show you. Watch me do it. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is figured out not just immigration, but the company building for myself, and then parlayed that into how can I use it for tens of thousands of other entrepreneurs. Started Unshackled Ventures as a way to unlock entrepreneurs who are currently in school or working at other employers or on visas, but have obviously transcended wherever they were born and found their path to the US. That, by the way, requires beating about 7 billion people of competition to be here. About 1.5 million people get to come to the US every year out of 7 billion. Odds are not great. But they've done that, and now they want to start companies, and we support them in doing that at Unshackled. Specifically, we invest when companies are being started. Almost all our investments are pre-product, pre-revenue. About 3 out of 4 companies we incorporate with the founders, and we love investing as early as we can. We've never told founders you're too early for us, which is one of the favorite ways to pass for VCs. We do pass when it's too late for us. We like to swim in our lane. When it gets too late, we pass off to folks like Dr. Zhang.
Dr. Zhang, please. Thank you. Thank you, Nitin.
Absolutely. Very happy to be here. My background is medical doctor by training, and I did see patients for about 3 years in Singapore at Singapore General Hospital. I was like running around doing the residency work, and we do actually night flows like 7 days in a row. To the point that I feel like there has to be something that is more scalable. And I've always been in love with science and technology. And so is our firm. Actually, for LDV Partners, we stand for Leonardo da Vinci in honor of cross-disciplinary innovation in the world. So we're like, what can we do with technology? What is the problems to solve? And with time, things change. I think the most recent keyword I will bring up is longevity, health span, and lifespan. And we really want to see something major, significant changes in the space.
Excellent. Thank you both for kicking that off. If we think about big leaps in innovation, like all throughout history, people have had this moral panic when things first come out, like, it's going to destroy the world, bicycles included. Back in the day when this technology came out, people were concerned because it was driving people out of their villages and over into the next village for social and dating and meeting new people. In fact, some people said that you're going to get bicycle face, which is like frozen face because you're like this. Do you think that artificial intelligence is also in this same bucket, or is it similar to past waves of innovation, or is it different from past waves of innovation? Dr. Qing, why don't you start with us here?
I think absolutely, and we are always optimistic about what technologies can bring to change. And this time is different. I know it sounds cliche, but we do believe that with the speed of innovation, we see the iteration, especially in hubs like Silicon Valley, it is changing every single day, every single minute. And with the neurodiversity of talents, I feel that's just gonna be incredible. It's everywhere. It's like by default infra now. So I think I'm a big believer, and would love to embrace that innovation as well.
What has history taught us about all these innovations? Today we talk about like self-driving cars are going to kill us and someday become like a thing, a tribe of their own. I remember I was pretty happy having robots in my home. Like I grew up in India where everything had to be done manually, and then I came to the US and I saw dishwasher. Like, great, robotics, right? Hasn't killed me yet. And I think the trend that you described, anytime something new comes up, our brains are hardwired to first think of the risk. What can go wrong? It's just how we've survived. Humans have survived for centuries because of that phenomenon. So we'll always think of that, but that's where the entrepreneur and the innovator comes in. They look at that, what can go right? What can I put this to good use for? And that's the kind of people we're all surrounded by. That's what we celebrate here in Silicon Valley, right?
All right. So I come from the world of arts and media and filmmaking, and so I don't know the world of venture well, but I'd like to dumb it down a little bit. I know I'm not the only one that watches Shark Tank, right? You said you like to invest in things that make money. So it sounds like this is a 360-degree portfolio. All right. So has there ever been a time where somebody sent a deck that was so incredible and you looked at it and you said, I would never normally invest in this, but the amount of effort this person has done, I'm going to take the meeting. I'm going to talk to them. Is there a story like that? Is there a time where it's not something you would normally invest in and all of a sudden something has spurred you? And what were the circumstances that qualified that for a meeting for you?
Speaking of dumbing down venture capital, people familiar with power laws? How many people know power laws? Show of hands. Great. We got 3. The venture capital model works on power laws, which means we're going to invest in a portfolio of things. Most will fail, but a few will be so successful that it's going to return money many times over and make up for the rest. So if you think of the most successful firms, they raise a new fund every few years, 2 to 3 years, and most successful funds will have one very big success, a name that you've heard of, a Stripe, a Dropbox, a Tesla, etc. And so when we think of investing, we're looking at every investment that we make in a fund. Like we're going to invest in 60 companies out of our current fund. When at the time of investment, the odds of success is all of those 60 companies could be multi-billion-dollar companies. Okay, but what they are really is 2 people and a dog in a garage, right? So, right. So really what we're looking at is the human potential that can take these people who've taken or shown the courage of leaving the comfort of a good paying job or leaving the comfort of their homes and coming here to the US to start a company, or leaving discomfort and taking that fear, channeling it as courage to start that company.
I want to know what your spidey sense is. Like, right. How do you know when you got a winner?
Weave that into story. You wanted story. So
I do, but before you say your story, just to clarify, to even dumb down what you just said, it sounds like you're more investing in the person than you are in the product.
That's the story. That is the story. So the deck is not a part of that story because we ignore the decks. However, the first meeting.
Remember that, everyone. Yeah. They ignore the decks.
We do, because we invest in people. And then as the company progresses, later stage VCs will invest in people plus other signals. The signal we're seeking is ambitious people. So the story that I want to share is of this one person who we met who, for 13 years of his first 13 years of his life, all he knew was coconut farming, because he grew up on coconut farms. The entire family, all they did was coconut farming. But through the magic of YouTube, discovered Rubik's Cubes, somehow found a Rubik's Cube store nearby, learned how to solve Rubik's Cube, and became 2 times world Rubik's Cube champion. Parlayed that into joining an international school, which got him exposed to some very well-recognized people, which took him to get on like the Silk Road bike tour to raise money and stuff, and somehow finds himself in San Francisco, survives living in San Francisco by winning hackathons. That person who was born to be a coconut farmer today runs a company valued at $100 million. That's what we do.
And how was his deck?
He does not make decks. For any money that he's raised, he does not do decks. He is the pitch.
Dr. Zhang, do you want to follow that up?
Yeah.
So you're very specific in what you invest in. Has there ever been a time where a movie has come along, or a restaurant, or a comedy club, something out of the norm where you said, you know what, the investment isn't too much, I like this person? What would it take for something like that to happen for you?
I think Silicon Zombie is a very good start line. Right. Yes, I do love the venue.
I'll
and the
Venmo
vibe.
you later for saying that.
All right. Yeah, so we talk about that later. Yes. So I want to echo to the point about the people and the team. Actually, show of hands here. How many people have started company or joined? Oh my gosh, I love Silicon Valley. That's
When
really
we're done at about 7:20, come up and pitch them individually. That's what they're here for.
That's really beautiful, me included. Entrepreneur at heart. I think it's really about. I love this one slogan at Facebook I once came across is always remember why you started. I think with all the founders I've met, amazing people. They're all smart. They're all passionate. There are some like reasons, but there are people like who started a company not because they want to do that, but some other reasons that we wouldn't appreciate, like ego or I want to be a CEO, I want to lead a team, but it has to be like very organic, right? So I think almost all of our founders are like, we backed is like, we saw this problem. It's really annoying. It's really painful. And we feel that there should be a way to solve the problem. So, and technology is one tool they can use. So I think I respect that vision a ton.
So it sounds like you're very strict when you invest. You don't go outside of what you know. Is that true? Is that what I'm hearing?
Gosh, that sounds like very narrow-minded.
You're not very narrow-minded.
This means you're very specific. By the way, the name of the talk is Riches in the Niches, which is, being able to focus very deep down.
Yeah, I would love to make a quick comment on that concept because we honor deep tech. We believe that technology will change the world, will increase productivity and GDP, and will create impact, and wealth or value will follow after impact. That's what we believe. And in honor of deep tech, we are curious about, especially fascinated by people who can connect the dots. So it's very rare that you invented something out of nowhere, right? It's like a Nobel Prize level of scientific discovery. But it's pretty common that you connect the dots, leveraging this technology to this particular application, and you create a miracle out of that. That is always fascinating. And you need smart people who are curious, who are not happy, not satisfied to solve that problem with this right tool.
So it sounds like you're very specific.
I can't deny it.
Disciplined.
Very disciplined.
Focused. I like that.
All right. So depending on who you talk to, there's a group of the population that says, hey, we're on the verge of World War III right now. And there'll be other people you talk to that say this is just a bump in the road, all the chaos happening in the world. This has got to affect the way you invest right now and what you can invest in. Can you talk about the temperature of the world and how this is affecting you? And if you've got really specific examples, that would be great.
I can start. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I'll pick one keyword to share with you. Demographics. Again, longevity. What if our average age is 100, and then what happens, right? There's so many different factors. You live longer, your health, first of all, and then your financial security, your financial health, and then alongside with your mental issues, with everything. I mean, it's a new market that we're looking at. So with an aging demographics, I just learned a new word yesterday. It's called age diversity, and I love it. It might be the new norm that how people work together and live a life together, share a community together. I find that new market really fascinating. Just like you have to learn more about the new fact and how to respond to that.
But how is the temperature of the world affecting how you invest? Has there been a time where we're about to invest in something in the Middle East and you're like, right now, I don't know. Like, has there been some opportunities that you've had to say no to? Is there places you've had to divest from? How is the world's stage right now affecting your venture?
Yeah, I think it's not that obvious to us because we are a lean team and we're mostly based on both sides of the coast here. So most of us are here, and we have now a small office in Boston. So we focus on North America anyway. Of course, our portfolios will decide where do they want to expand their global markets. Previously, can be want to expand to a particular country, but now second thought, there might be something somewhere else, like supply chain, right? Where do I want to have a backup plan for my supply chain vendors so that I can guarantee the supply? So it's kind of like.
Why is that interesting to you? I'm curious.
Why is what?
Yeah, the supply chain specifically.
Oh, it's for portfolio companies. Yeah. Like they have to have plan B, otherwise it will be like 6 months delay. Right. It's just a very factual business decision, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think world events obviously affect the flow of people, and US, for as entrepreneurial, as great as we are, likely is from the contribution of people who choose to make US their home, and then future generations continue to be here. So whether it's local events such as an administration we had for a few years that did not appreciate immigrants, or at least the narrative was we don't want you here, or world events that put blockages in the supply chain of humans. So when wars happen, or other disturbances such as the pandemic, it creates a blockage in that desired flow of people, and that affects how people who could use technologies to solve big problems could be in a position to do that. And so I think there's a natural phenomenon that happens. It does not affect how we invest, but it affects who can we meet to put in a position to be successful. And so we obviously care a lot about these phenomenons, and we wish it's always fluent, the flow of people. You wish there were no borders, but that's wishful thinking. So very much we keep our pulse or keep a pulse on what's happening globally and how that affects what people choose to do.
So we live in two different worlds. Pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. It's completely different. The world is different. When you go to invest, has there been a time where you've entirely done meetings only over Zoom, never in person, and you've still invested? Or does the in-person matter when it comes to investing?
Our investment process, even if you are my next door neighbor, will be on Zoom.
Oh.
So the investment process is usually, there's a
Questions later.
The process is designed to work for everyone. So one recognition we had was not every immigrant entrepreneur is going to have warm pathways to us. And so we opened up a form. There's a form on our website that anyone can go in and fill with their information, and we will respond to everything that comes in. We're seeing about 3,000 of those a year, and we still respond to everything. So that's not the deck, but the information about founders and what they plan to do. However, we personally make ourselves available to be at events like this, or when I was in the Midwest, or I go to upstate New York like I was last week, is to make ourselves accessible and approachable, not from the investment process standpoint, but for the founders to be able to relate with us. So that's the pre-investment process. And then post-investment, we'll work with our portfolio founders in person, on Zoom, whatever is suitable. I have three portfolio founders who live in Sunnyvale within 15 minutes walking distance from me. And we meet more on Zoom than we meet in person because it's just efficient. Life's too fast. We're doing too many things. They're doing too many things. I have no idea where they are on which day when I'm talking to them, but phone calls and Zoom just gets things done.
So you likely get pitched by a lot of folks, which is cool because you get to see a bunch of different data points. And I would love to get into the deep tech and the science and kind of like the bleeding edge of where innovation is going. Well, let's talk a little bit about the pitch itself. I imagine there's a lot of founders here that would love to connect with you. Have you seen something that really truly works, maybe like a formula? Like when it comes to X, a lot of people have a problem with Y, which is why we created Z. Or what have you seen that works well?
Yeah. Let's go into Human's background. How many people like getting pitched? Like the telemarketers call you, send you those emails with buy my SaaS software, which is better than all the others that you saw. Who likes that? I do. Great. Everybody.
Frankie likes getting pitched.
Everybody pitch him. The rest of us like to hear stories because they're memorable. Stories can be remembered. And so, look, any investor, they're hearing a lot of pitches every day. This is the day-to-day life and if it's just a pitch, it's going to be forgotten after the next one. Stories will not be forgotten. And so the more you can connect with people through stories, yes, it's a business, but the business is being run by people and it's solving problems for people, improving the lives of people. Wherever you can find that common ground or affinity to make it a story, it's going to become memorable. And that's what will work with most VCs across stages.
Great. Dr. Zhang, please.
Right. I want to share a personal experience because I've been an entrepreneur myself. And honestly, we see ourselves as entrepreneurs because we go early and we really dive in. And especially in deep tech, we do venture creation. So basically, you are like the interim CXO, interim everything, right? You do HR, you do finance, you do fundraise, you do product management, you do strategy, you do basically everything. But I enjoy pitching to investors, wearing that hat because I feel like it's not like I'm trying to sell them anything, but it's really a chance for me to share with them what I believe, what I'm seeing that they're not seeing, right? So it's kind of like becomes a very rewarding experience, especially when I get positive, echoing, okay, you are actually also interested. Let's talk more about it. And I am happy to share with you. So I think that's a very healthy relationship. You are building, you're learning and you're growing, you find your peers. You're basically, it's a matchmaking process, right? You have to find your partners who understand what you're talking about, who are equally excited about what you're working on. At the end of the day, it's a very hard journey. It's very lonely. Being a CEO is probably the loneliest job on earth. I hate that job. I didn't know this. I didn't know how lonely it could be until I did it myself. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was the darkest moment. But I was very lucky I have great partners, business partners to go with me. But coming back, I used to do this trails with founders. So we spent a lot of hours talking about the technology and the vision. Why do you want to do this? The first page on your pitch deck, mission and vision. Why do you want to do this now? Why you are the best person to do this? And you have to have that leap of faith because it's just so difficult along the years. Many unexpected things will happen.
You can say no comment to this question. How much do you have to invest in your fund? What's the amount that you guys can invest? Are you a $200 million fund? Are you a $300 million?
The current fund is 35 million, 65 million AUM.
We're investing out of our fund 2, and we'll launch fund 3 early next year. Fund 2 is about 150, and we have 4 vertical categories that we cover as a lean team. Yeah.
All right, so you clearly invest in a lot of different areas. how often do you find yourself playing the therapist, where the entrepreneur is having a meltdown, problems with the wife, problems with the employees, problem with the girlfriend, problem with all of it? And what do you do in those situations?
I love this question. No, as a physician by training, I basically, it's very natural to me. I did a lot of rotation in mental health. And I came across with a startup, actually started this mental health company targeting founders. See how big a need there is, which I totally resonate with the value prop here. A lot. I think that's very important.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you want to play the therapist? You're
No.
okay with it?
No. You have to sometimes. You have to massage the team, the board meeting. You have to. It's not like I volunteer sign up for that job.
The VCs I've talked to in the past have made it clear, I'm going to invest in you. Please don't call me with your problems. Please don't call me with your issues. Here's my money.
Name names.
Well,
Or it didn't.
I don't know if I can do that.
Well, for feedback on some VCs, please go to Human so you can know who not to raise money from. But I'll say I would be the worst therapist in the world because I don't have the skills that are needed to be. I cannot hold all that the pain or the suffering. However, I think the role that VCs, the ones who want to do it, can play is a coach, and potentially these relationships start becoming a peer relationship. So we are building our firm. I am the founder and CEO, co-CEO of my fund, which is the same journey as a founder is going through. So a lot of what I'm experiencing is similar to them. Other life experiences, etc. So the role that we see ourselves playing is, number one, earn the trust of the founders, so they feel comfortable being vulnerable with us. We see this across our portfolio, whereas as companies are growing, that trust does not exist with most VCs downstream. They're writing much bigger checks than us, but we still have a much bigger trust balance with the founders. And whoever is the VC who's able to establish that trust is going to have to play the coach / therapist / mentor / whatever role they're comfortable playing. And it is a critical role because sometimes you have to tell the founder, there's spinach in your teeth. They can't see the spinach, but you can. And so that is sometimes hard to hear. I've had to tell founders, maybe use deodorant. It's important because they cannot smell their own body. Others can. And so, but that can only happen when you've established that kind of trust. You know that they're not going to be offended. They're going to be grateful that you actually told them something that they could not recognize about themselves. So there's that. And then there's all the other, co-founder breakups, customer left, this board members being nasty, whatever. Those are easier things to handle.
So all sorts of VCs want to be strategic value add, and they all say that they are. I'm curious, what is your philosophy around building community, right? Mercedes Bankston from Founders Institute told me recently over coffee, first-time founders focus on product, second-time founders focus on the customer, third-time founders focus on community. How do you approach this, Dr. Chang?
I totally agree. It's all about people at the end of the day. I think for us, because we're very friendly investors, we really are aligned with the founder's interest. So we dive in. And how do we create a community? Honestly, within our portfolios, we help everyone, and sometimes there are synergies among those, which are great. And we really actively reach out for them, be their part-time BD person out there, be their part-time PR person. Just where there's multiple roles, as if we're kind of like a fractional employee for all these portfolio companies. That can be helpful. Yeah.
We look at community as a reservoir of our relationships. We also look at it as the friends and family equivalent of immigrants who left their friends and family at home and came here as adults or young adults. And so, when you graduate from college and your family's in Iran and you want to go out and raise money, there's no immediate friends and family network that you can dip into. So we started what started as a private community among our portfolio founders. We've now expanded that and opened it to any immigrant entrepreneurs. If you go to our website, you'll see that community link up top, and anyone can join it as long as you're an entrepreneur. No service providers or VCs in that. So conversations are very organic. It is a safe space. And I think it is essential to really build that or tackle that loneliness that you're talking about. You cannot learn enough yourself, or if you try to learn enough yourself, you're going to keep making mistakes that others have made. I would prefer making new mistakes instead of what others have already made. And so I would rather learn from others and then try something new. Now, others don't have to make the mistake that I made because they can learn from my mistakes.
After this question, we'll open it up so you all can speak. You can say no comment on this one as well. Can you give us the circumstance? Have you ever? I'm sure in all of the companies you've invested in, there's been at least one time where you fired someone. You've had to fire someone. No, that's never happened? You?
Like fire
your founder
someone
and then part of the board has to get together and put someone else in their place.
Yeah, I mean, in my own company, I fired people before, but not really on a board level. Not
on the board level, and neither you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're always able to salvage it?
I feel very lucky.
I think there's a growing understanding that founders are the ones who build the companies, not boards. And I think the last 20 years have very much exemplified it. I'm sure there are situations when boards have to take action. We haven't been part of that, but there have been situations where we've had to encourage the founder to think, are they tapping out? And ask the questions that lead them to recognize that they may not be the right leader for the next phase of the company. And if that's the case, who should they consult? Who should they bring in? But it's not our decision, it's theirs.
Wow. All right. Thank you. We're opening up for questions. Does anyone have a question?
I have a bunch.
We got deep in the back. Oh, Ruby?
Ruby, go ahead. Oh, no. Go ahead. Me? Yeah, you. Okay. I have a bunch, so I can always ask another one.
Start with two.
All right. How about you go first? Let me think about it.
That's good.
Hi, I have two questions. One is logistics and one is philosophical. The philosophical question is that you talk about you invest in teams. That's what all investors say, right? Now, the world has changed because before the smart ones who graduated from college went to Fortune 500s, then they went into consulting. Now, a lot of them are going to startups. And some of them are going into startups even before they graduate, all right? So what's your opinion about that? Because they might be very smart, they may have their PhD in AI, and it's very hard to find AI people now. But these people basically don't have very much real world experience. So what's your opinion about that? Because I'm seeing firms are even focused on that group right now. So that's my first question, philosophy. The second one is just more logistics. Like you mentioned that you do 4 sectors. Can you comment what they are? And can you also comment whether you do pre-seed, seed, or Series A, all 3 of them? And what size checks do you normally do? So that's just... Yeah, let's get
next time we got to put you on the panel. So far, that's the best question.
Well, I'm an advisor in the tech world, so I kind of know what the key things are that people want to know.
That's fantastic. Let's take the easy one first. We invest at pre-seed only and the early part of pre-seed. Our preference is to start companies with founders. Check sizes are up to 500K usually. Occasionally we'll go higher. We want to start with a 10% implied ownership. We invest through SAFE, so investment process takes like 2 days at this early stage. And the entire process, it would be 3 to 4 meetings within a 3 weeks period, and then the closing is 2-3 days. There aren't like diligence and financial reviews and all that to be done. None of that exists. Which goes to, I guess, the philosophy part of the question, which is experience, knowledge, wisdom has positives and negatives. People who know too much maybe more caught up in analysis paralysis, overthinking things. For example, people who come from a particular industry often assume that whatever is happening in the industry is how it's always going to be. And then a 19-year-old is going to come about, not know any of that stuff, and just start, because of their oblivious nature, will just start doing things that everybody hates in the industry, except the first few people who kind of see, oh, this actually makes sense. And then it becomes a trend. So sometimes you need that courage, which is a function of it's not knowing stuff. And sometimes you need to know stuff. By the time a company really becomes a company, you need both. You need the raw courage with some adults in the room who know how to operate. And so generally what we would see is, if it's a founder who is, I'm currently investing in a undergrad freshman. If it's a founder who does not have that work experience, how can we augment? How can we capture the talent, the courage, the ambition that they have, but surround them with what they're missing? And then as they build the team, they can bring the right kind of people. Now, if they keep hiring more people off them like themselves, that could lead to a WeWork. But somewhere you start thinking, this team has to have some adult maturity in the room. And that's how most of our young founders think, is at some point we got to start hiring experience.
Dr. Shing, please.
Thank you very much for your question. So for our fund, we have 4 themes. It's artificial intelligence, of course, the biggest sector, followed by robotics. The third one is tech bio, and the last one, but not least, is climate tech. They are interconnected with each other because many technologies are shared, many market our insights also shared in a way. Back to our check size, typically nowadays it's a little smaller than before. It's 1 to 3 million typically, but we have the flexibility to go lower or higher. Typical stage will be early stage with some a little bit broad flexibility. But typical will be pre-seed to Series A, I would say, as a early VC fund. And back to your question, I might be biased because I'm so in love with biotech therapeutic space. I once had the thought that, it doesn't need to, you can be passionate as a young, fresh PhD grad, but I still do. But it's just that it's so complicated for drug development, and it's a highly regulated industry. So what do you know about regulatory? Can you execute faster than other founders by, years of experience with FDA or years of experience with chemistry and manufacturing and CMC and all that? If you do have the know-how, I will call it know-how, you probably can execute faster. On the other hand, so that's my bias in the biotech industry. But on the other hand, I will say a general rule is the founder and the CEO, are they humble? Right? Are they willing to learn? Because you can't know, even if you are experienced, like Nitin just said, it can be a curse because you are not open-minded, you're not learning. So I do believe if you're humble, we learn to be very humble because we've made so many mistakes, especially from my early days as a physician. You have to be very much humbled because you can't really save every life, right? And that's very discouraging sometimes, especially I work in the oncology space. But I think if the founder is humble, is listening, and you have a coach, you have your board members, you build a strong board with trust and respect, you should be okay. You should be in safe hands.
Thank you.
All right, are you ready?
You mentioned peer-to-peer symbiotic relationship between you and people that you invest in, right? That was a huge unlock for me because I would go into Sequoia Capital and it would be like, they're here and I'm here. The unlock for me was that actually it's a completely even playing field. They need me as much as they need me, right? Vice versa, right? What advice would you give to founders today that are looking for funding, that spend months preparing to have 15 minutes to only blow it because they missed a question that's like, hey, what's your competitive advantage? Okay, I could, I could talk about competitive edge, but what would at a general sense, if I'm coming into your VC, whatever the environment is, how can you grow past maybe 3, 4, 5 important years of your life, potentially wasting time in meetings, or maybe you're learning. How do you get to that point? Is there?
If I understand that right, there's multiple layers to that question. One is just the relationship between founders and VCs. And when you're a first-time founder, you're not a brand name yet. You don't have the signals that everybody's following. How do you approach VC conversations? And I think what I heard from you is you perceive Sequoia to be a much larger brand and therefore a much larger presence than you are. And that's not you alone. Most founders would approach it that way, except the founders that Sequoia will invest in are the ones that Sequoia thinks, or the partner at Sequoia who's working with them thinks, this founder is smarter than me. I need to spend more time with them, because that's really how the relationship works. Is if the VC in the room, if they are the smartest person, they should be starting the company, not you, right? So you mentioned humility and curiosity. So the best in the trade VCs approach conversations because they know the hero of the story is the entrepreneur. We're the support cast. For my business, I am the hero of the story, and my investors should understand that they are the support cast and their capital is the support cast. But if I'm investing in your company, you are now the hero, I'm the support cast. And so when that recognition kicks in, those VCs will automatically approach things with a lot more curiosity and respect. And if the question that is, now this goes into the second layer of it. So as a founder, when you're approaching a VC, when we work with our portfolio founders, we always say, like, they need you more than you need them, because you're an N of 1. There's a lot of VCs you can raise money from, but your company is an N of 1. So if they want to succeed with you, they can only invest in your company, right? So that kind of changes the paradigm a little bit. That starts going into the second aspect, the questions like, what is your competitive advantage? I think the important question is to understand what's the question behind the question. Why did that question even come up, right? So if you're raising a pre-seed or a seed and someone's asking you about competitive advantage, did they miss something else, or did you not tell? Did you miss telling why this is important? So my way of analyzing the VC founder conversations is to really try and assess, why is a question being asked? And if you can address that, the root part of it, which is, this is so important, or this is so differentiated, or I am so important to execute on this, that question will likely not come up.
Hi. Great conversation. Thanks again for your inputs. Do you work to make yourself obsolete in the process? Because just like everything else where we're removing the human from not only the decision making, but the building process, scientists, that's where like AGI pathway, genetics, synthetic biology, all of that are happening at the same time, and the convergence is coming. End of this decade, you're going to prove the Turing test. There are many predictions, obviously, along the way, but whether they come true or not, there's already building happening in that equation that's showing tremendous results. So I'm curious, there are some VCs who are really beginning to experiment to make themselves obsolete in how they even do the investment, right? Because there's abundance of capital, but humans are very long or short-sighted, whatever, depends, like near or far-sighted, when it comes to really even understanding a full picture of the founder journey, right? Because it's not one, there are many equations that have to fall into play. So in your current roles as venture capitalists, do you think about that particularly from 0 to 1 investment category? And then also from a deep tech standpoint, what is the biggest bet that you're going to make, even though you have 4 verticals? Because the convergence of current AI partial scientist actually creating the next genetics, is already like the biggest focus area. So like, how do you see that? Like personally, if you were to like quit everything and then go in, what would you want to build right now as a deep tech investor?
I like this question because it's a $1 billion question we ask ourselves every day. What companies do we want to build now? I mean, first of all, there's a lot of opportunities, right? I hear you, like, we're kind of like everybody should be enabled by the technology. But at the end of the day, technology and market, right? You have to do the fitness, you have to do the translational work. Sometimes you see good technology, but still you don't understand the market, or you don't know there's a market existing. You still cannot make a business case. So from our perspective, we care about tech, we care about your technical moat. We also care about the business economics, right? So is it a value add? It's not a zero sum, right? We do value add stuff. So if it is, then great, then go in. So I think if you ask me now, my recent favorite is longevity. So how do I, because it's a growing market, right? It's happening. You can't deny the fact, but how do you respond to this new fact by creating technology that like help people live longer and help you more productive? That would be a huge value add. So how to do that? There are multiple ways to do it. You can do it technically, you can do it change, better therapeutics, right? Weight loss drugs, I mean, like that's a huge bonus and with potential risk as well. So I think that is like forever, if you're curious, that is always new market to be explored.
There's a lot of parts of my job that I would like to make obsolete. And I think that is how people used it. That is how humans have used technologies and will continue to use technology, is at all points, can we reduce the time that we spend on mechanical things and increase the time that we spend on human things? Human things could be care, love, ingenuity, innovation. And so the less the time that we spend on mechanical stuff frees up more of the time for the creative stuff, right? And so I think every founder, every VC, or at least the ones that care about optimizing, are looking at what AI tools can we use in our process and in whatever we do to create more time for the human elements.
I have an off-the-wall value add question. Excuse me. A day doesn't go by where you hear the term social media. Do any of your current investments or future people you're looking at, doesn't matter, their social following? Does that have anything to play into your decision process, or has it? Some people have 10,000 or million followers. What does it play? And I'm going to position to the next person who wants a question.
I don't think it's much of a decision factor. I think it's a signal, just like getting to know the person. There are many things that you try to appreciate about the founder that you're talking to. And so if they've done something exceptional to build that kind of following, the question to ask is, why do people want to listen to you? Is it because you're really funny? And if so, will that help you build this business? Is it because you're really knowledgeable? That's why people follow you? Will that help you build this business? But ultimately, it's about what aspect of your personality does that data point of your social media following, does that data point support, and how important is it to building the business or becoming a leader who can build the team that will build the business?
Before you ask your next question, because I know it's there, I have a question. What if somebody wants to just sit with you and talk with you like this? Are you accessible that way? Do you do this for somebody you meet at a party and say, hey, can I pick your brain for 20 minutes over a drink?
That's why I need more AI products to create more time to be able to do that. But to the point, I just returned last night from 10 days in New York, partially upstate, partially New York City. The idea was to spend time with people. And I did a number of different things, small, intimate type events where we could have 6 people around the table and go deep into a topic, 80 people events where it's more one to many, this kind of a setup. to playing poker for 3 hours, and the stories around poker are obviously interesting. But the idea is, whatever the means, the goal is to get to learn more about the people you're with. And so we keep looking for opportunities to create that time and space.
Wow. Okay.
Hi, everyone. So, very interesting speech. You think?
Introduce a little bit about yourself. He's all the way from Paris.
Yeah.
This guy flew in for Paris for this event, everybody. Come on.
Yeah, thank you. My question is the following: is actually it's very interesting because since we are here, we hear a lot of subject surrounding about like just AI, as VCs, and we are here for VCs as well. And sometimes you come out with a company who is profitable, who solve a problem, but in front of some VCs, you feel like they are still following like just a trend, and they're just like about AI and all this stuff, just like it's a bit like a brainwash. And I'm quite surprised because there is some other company who solve real problems and just not like about AI, so.
I sincerely hope and I believe we are not brainwashed. You need to show data, right? What's really working, what's really not, what's hype, what is not. But honestly, we are agnostic of the buzzword trend. Actually, we're very careful about it because it means that, everybody knows about it. It's already overvalued in a way, right? So that's kind of like what the basic rules here. So I think take aside the buzzword, what else is here, right? We care about is there a business? Is your business scalable? Is your business potentially capital efficient? I mean, all these basic fundamental questions about the company per se. That's what we care about, right? Whether you have a slide, maybe it's helpful. On your side, it makes the deck looks nicer and just check the boxes. You have to have all these buzzwords, but honestly, it doesn't really matter.
I think another multi-layer question. So number one, the question is your business even right for VCs? And that's a question that you should ask yourself too, is what is the right source of capital for you? If the business is profitable and is not going to grow at the expected VC scale, which is the triple, double velocity, don't raise VC money. It comes with a lot of expectations and pressure. You may want to raise it at a pace that you like to build at. So I think VC gets a lot of glamour and undue glamour, but founders have to ask what is the right way to capitalize their company. That's part one. If VCs are not understanding your proposition, they're likely not the right audience for you. The second part of it is the flavor of the month is a real pop, is a real thing, right? And understand how VC business works. When VCs go out to raise money, their LPs are asking them, like, we keep hearing things about AI. How many AI things are you investing in? So they have to answer that question. Now, that's where the normal curve of any kind of population comes into play, which is most VCs are going to fall in the middle, where they're going to do what everybody else is doing. And then there's 10% or so that are behind the times and 10% or so that are ahead of the times. If you're building something unique, so for example, when we're investing, we don't care if it's AI or whatever. We invested in a company that's doing long duration energy storage in limestone. They've not written a line of code. Okay, it's all materials and chemical, materials, and civil engineering, right? So there's innovation in all formats, but there are VCs who will pay attention to, you're doing something that's unique, and this can become a venture scale business, so we will pay attention to it. At some point, it becomes a function of quantity. Like, you have to keep meeting until you find that right person who understands where you can take this.
Let me ask you a quick question here. Just to give us all hope, I'm sure there's a few people that are going to pitch you here. Duration. I'm speaking duration. Days, weeks, months. What's the shortest amount of time from the time you've met someone to the time you've invested?
Shortest.
Has there ever been a time in 48 hours you're like, oh my God, I'm so impressed. Here's 500 grand. Has that happened? Yes. It has?
Yeah.
Amazing. And you? 48 hours.
Less than that.
Wow. Okay. Does anyone else? All right. You'll be out. Okay.
So I have we're in Silicon Valley and there's so many people here who are looking to start startups. For first-time founders, what are the 3 things that you've seen as an investor which caused near-death experiences for these startups?
Oh, that's good.
Why is 3 the magic number?
I just picked 3, but
if there's more than 3, you can say.
Maybe there's more than 3, but so many folks are starting companies and creating companies. It's not that the ideas aren't good. The ideas are great, but then it's like you're talking about folks have to have a reason why, and they have to have a purpose, and they have to have some depth of knowledge, understanding of the market. There's a lot of other capacities than just being technically smart to start a company and actually take it and make it successful. And one of the things that Paul Graham is famous for saying about Brian Chesky is he said that when he met him, he knew in the first 15 minutes that this was going to be one of the most successful startups he ever invested in. He said Brian had this amazing capacity to learn and to ask questions. And even we had Chip Conley here recently, who was Brian Chesky's mentor for 7-8 years. And so I'm just curious from your perspective as investors, what do you see from your vantage point?
Yeah, I'd say the top things that come to mind, raising too much money too fast, which creates behaviors that take away the leverage. So until you've figured out what you're going to invest money into, and it's actually going to lead to growth, raising more money actually kills companies. It's death by indigestion, not starvation. Not being curious, getting too locked into just, I know by intuition, this is what I'm going to do, and not listening to your customers. I think that's what the Brian Chesky comments also leads to, is the best founders who move the fastest are because they are intensely curious. Every conversation, they're going to ask more questions than they're trying to answer. They're trying to learn from everybody. And the last one I would say is not charging enough for your product out of fear of losing customers. But more companies die because of not charging enough.
We promise to keep this free, everyone. All right, let's end with this here.
My question's for the doctor. You got something in your teeth, so I'll talk to you later. You talked about longevity and the technology to help people live longer. My question is, do you think that you would be interested in investing in technology that helps people die with dignity?
That's a deep question. The simple answer is yes. Of course, there's a lot of legal, ethical issues to be sorted out, like how practical it is, right? Not to say die with dignity. Can we just fix the abortion thing for women? Like the baby steps, right? So I think a simple answer is yes, definitely. If there's need, there's value.
Because they have the suicide pods that they have one with another country. So anyway, I think when people want to live longer, sometimes that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
All right, let's end with Nick.
I had less of a question and more of
one more.
The investors in the audience could maybe hold their hand up. So we've got Jordan, we've got Bill, we've got a couple over here, Dave Weschler. So if you're looking to raise capital, go talk to these folks in the interest of matchmaking.
The doctor wants to promote something real fast before the show's over. I told her she could do it. She's very proud of one of her friends. So just give her 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. This is actually fresh new. I hope he's watching it. He might not be watching it, but Dr. Ray Tabibiazar. This is a difficult name to pronounce. But basically, one thing that he mentioned in the book.
What's the name of the book?
The Secrets of Ordinary Heroes.
Okay.
He's an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. Check him out. Founded several startups. We had the honor to work with him on his prior startup where he's a CEO. We invested in that company before. And this is about immigrant mindset. So he basically wrote about the odyssey of Iranian Jewish family and how they moved to the US and start their life. I think that's interesting to read. And he's a doctor by training as well at Stanford, cardiovascular doctor by training. Great human being.
One more time. It's called The Secrets of Ordinary Heroes. Dr. Ray, and his last name is spelled Tabibiazar. It's the whole alphabet. All right, Nick.
Just so quickly, we always want to be valuable to our guests. And so thank you for an illuminating discussion. Let's take maybe 30 seconds, each of you, on how the zombie community can be impactful to both of you.
Buy the book, right?
My call would be, if you are an immigrant entrepreneur or have immigrant entrepreneurs in your vicinity, please point them to the Unshackled community. We believe it is a meaningful resource, and we keep learning from entrepreneurs that are in this community to offer what helps them the most. But we also know that numbers themselves are important, because the more entrepreneurs are in the community, the more collaboration happens. The more founders will find co-founders, they'll find customers, they'll find investors. So the best way to do that is unshackledvc.com/community, or you'll see the community link up top.
Yeah, I really love this community and with this prime location, great vibes. So yes, we would love to meet and talk to you about your passion, your ambition, your dreams, and hope to be helpful as always.
Beautiful. What an incredible evening. Thank you so much. Round of applause here.
Thank you very much.
Want to do another quick shout out to our sponsors, Nicodex and Primera Negocios. And for supply chain, talk to these two handsome fellows right in the front for Unity Central. Thanks so much. And until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you again.